Morning, my chickadees. This is Phil Beckwith, the Professional Painter and Decorator. Yeah, guess where I am this morning? You've seen the thumbnail. We're going to be using, Benjamin Moore Scuff X. Now, I need to go and get some more Benjamin Moore. I need to go and get some more paint. So where am I going to? I'm going to Brewers. Now, Brewers in Nottingham, manageress, Sally. I've known Sally since she left school, I started painting and decorating with my father's business. And Sally, well, she started work with W. Robinson's in Nottingham, which was an independent paint supplier. Roll on a good number of years, they sold out to Dulux, and that became a Dulux Decorator Centre. And then roll on to a bit more present day. Sally parted company with them, managed to get a nice job with Brewers. I think she moved over to Derby Brewers, and then when Brewers set up a branch in Nottingham, you couldn't ask for a better person to become manageress. So Brewers of Nottingham, Sally the manageress, and I'm down here. We've got an account with Brewers. Brewers sell a lot of paint, and the main paint we need in today is Benjamin Moore Scuff X. So I'm just going to pop in, I'm going to get my paint, and I'll come out, and the next time you'll see me, we'll blur all the way through. We'll be back on the flat renovation project, and we'll start talking about painting that hallway through. You saw on a previous video, which will be there above the Brewers sign. Previous video, we did the Benjamin Moore Ben, cracking paint, really liked it. And I did say on that video there, we would follow up doing the woodwork using Scuff X. Now, you know that previously, last year, it's good, I won't say 12 months ago, we had a sample tin from Benjamin Adams. Got Benjamin Moore on my flipping brain. Ben Adams managed to supply me with a sample tin, which was only about a litre, might be just a bit less. It was a sample can. I've used that on Doris the Door a good number of times, and now I need a bit more paint to try it out. In the real world painting, that's what we do. With real world painting, we're going to be painting the flat with a quality paint. Now, you know that I've rubbed all of that woodwork down. It was oil-based, crown, eggshell, back in the day, sanded that down. We've given that to Kota Zinza 1, 2, 3. So we shouldn't have any problems, and the fingers are crossed. 2 coats of Scuff X in the white should be fine. I'm hoping, because you know what I'm like, some of the paints that we're testing are needing a 3rd coat, even though we've got 1 coat of 1, 2, 3 over that. I'm going to call it Magnolia stroke Gardenia crown eggshell that's oil based. So without further ado, grub, we're going into Brewers in Nottingham. I'm going to get my paint, and we're going to come out, and next time you see me, we've got the paint mixed up, and we're going to get painting. Catch you later, alligator. Hello everybody, I'm back. You've seen the fade out and I've faded back in. We were down at Brewers in Nottingham. I managed to pick up American gallon, which is 3.7 on the side of the tin. 3.7 litres, is it? 3.72 litres, so it's not a full gallon. These retail at £108. You might get a bit of a deal, you might get a bit of a discount. As I said to you on the video at the beginning, I had got a sample tin that was supplied to me by Benjamin Moore stroke UK. Ben Adams, shout out to him for supplying me that. I've used that on Doris the Door a good number of times. I've not got enough to do 5 doors twice, frames and skirting. So we popped down to Sally at Brewers in Nottingham. Big shout out to her. I've told you the history. I've known Sally for years, since we were kids. And I picked up with Benjamin Moore because Benjamin Moore is sold through independents, and that one of the shops that sells it is Brewers, which is great. If you didn't see my previous video talking about Benjamin Moore Ben, which is a really nice paint, that was given to me as a sample. Gary at Brewers had got some sample tins to give out to decorators to try out. I was very lucky to get that as a sample. So no money's changed hands, no sponsorship, but just generally, like we are as a decorator, we do get sample bits and pieces sent to us to try out to see what they like. But that's on that video. This if you don't know about Benjamin Moore is actually a guy. He was originated from Ireland, of all places, moved over to America, 1800s, set up Benjamin Moore with about $2,000 with his brother. The rest history, got bought out, and it's now owned by the Berkshire Hathaway Company, which is a big company. And if I say that big, if you've heard of Warren Buffett, you've heard of him, he's up there with Elon Musk. So if you've got Elon Musk having the most money in the world, Mr. Buffett's not far behind him. It might be a pound behind him. He's got that much money. So that is a big company that's got loads of little companies, and one of the little companies is Benjamin Moore. So yeah, they're a big company in America, and if you're in the UK, you've probably not really heard of them. I'm giving you some insight into what Benjamin Moore is. I've done a video there trying it out on Doris the Door 6 months ago. I can't remember now. 12 months ago. Really good paint. It's expensive, but quality remembered long after price is forgot. I'm using it today because we've used the Benjamin Moore on the walls. We use Valspar on the ceiling. That's another video just there. And I'm going to do as I said, I'm going to use Benjamin Moore Scuff X on the woodwork. It's a good paint. It should cover for 2 coats. It's white, it's the super white. I've managed to add super white in the sample, and I've got the super white in the US gallon. It should cover for 2. If not, I'll be a bit annoyed. But the beauty with this paint is it is water washable. You can rinse your brushes out with water, a bit of soap, clean them up. It is a paint that should go over itself and stroke previously painted surfaces. It virtually goes over any surface, metal, blah-de-blah, drywall, the lot. If you do need to use an undercoat, there is a Benjamin Moore undercoat that you could use to build up a surface if you needed to give high obliteration to get rid of dark colours to go onto a white. But you know what I've done? I've done Zinza 123. I have got Zinza 123, the bullseye, that's the plus. I've also been using just the ordinary 123. So I have actually put a grit primer on, and I'm fingers crossed, still fingers crossed on my toes, we are going to go over with 2 coats, all being well. It's a hard finish. It should be great for a high traffic area. You can use it on walls. Just be mindful, there is a warning label on the back that just says about irritation of getting it on your skin. Just the usual health and safety. A lot of paints can be a little bit irritant if you get it on your skin and you're a bit sensitive to it. If you saw that video there where I was trying, if I've got it in front of me, I will pick the tin up. I don't think I have. That paint, whereas direct to wood and metal, it was an exterior paint. I did say to you, because I was in a close environment, enclosed space, this is an outside paint, and I've tried to use it inside, which I have successfully. I could feel it making my skin go a bit red. The air, I'm not saying I could chew the air, but you could smell something in the air when I didn't have the Veluxes opening the windows to get the air through. That in a confined space, that was a bit potent. And I also mentioned about the finish on that. Watch that video. Watch that video. We're not talking about that. I'm going to crack on now. I'm going to paint some doors. I'm going to come back in this part of this video because there's a door that I want to talk about painting the edges. Now, I've spoke about painting edges on a previous video, which is, I believe, there, about which side you do with what opening and all like that. But I've got a dark colour in that entrance passage, and I need to talk to you about it. So let me crack on. I'm going to see how we go. I am going to use on these doors, I'm sticking with them. These were recommended to me. You know who you are. The Pro Deck microfiber rollers. I've got a fresh, clean one. I'm finding I don't need to wash these out. They can just be bedded straight into the paint and go on straight onto the surface. Are they as good as the 2 Fussy Blokes? These are still, I'd say these are about a 5mm, 6mm nap. They're probably a little bit more. They're not as much as 10. I don't know whether it actually tells me. It doesn't say what nap they are on it. They're just a 4-inch roller, 100mm. Are they as good as the 2 Fussy Blokes? A little bit cheaper. A pack of these cost me about £7. I'm going to keep with it. See what they're like on these doors. Right, let me crack on and let me get painting. How are we diddling, everybody? Now, I said I'd come back during this painting exercise, do exercise off. I know folks think I'm a bit trim, but far from doing exercise. I said I'd get some doors painted and come to the door that I've got a question mark on. Now, I'll talk about that in a minute, but let me just say, this Scuff X, I'd forgotten how good it is. Now, it's quite thin. If you're a DIYer or a professional amateur and you're going to say, what do you mean, Phil, professional amateur? I'm on about people who don't do it as a proper, well, I say proper in inverted commas, proper business, professional amateur. You're a semi-professional. You probably, it's more of a hobby than a business. Bit of pin money. You know what I mean. Not being negative, not being horrible. It's like one up from an amateur painter. You know what I mean. If you're one of those, or even if you're a professional, if you've not tried this, give it a go. You might be one of these painters that say, oh, undercoat and gloss, coat of acrylic, coat of gloss, job's good and 2 coats. You've obviously not used this. I know there might be 3 coats involved. Time is money, I know all that. But for what the benefits are of using a water-based paint, I'll stomach that. I'll stomach that extra coat of paint that's might be a couple of hours in a day. What's a couple of hours if you're getting a lovely finish? Because this, I've painted one door, gone on to another door and frame, and by the time I've finished that second door, I've gone back and looked at the first door and I've gone, wow, that's dry. It's touch dry. It looks like it's cured. You know what I mean? Proper dry. So where you say touch dry, hour to 2 hours, recoat time, 2, 3, 4 hours, you're not going to have any problems. You're not waiting till next day. So by the time I've done these doors, done my other jobs, because this flat renovation, I'm taking tiles off. I've got to get some tiles, got to get rid of some tiles. So by the time I've done that, had my lunch, do you know what? I'll be second coating all this, and I think it's going to cover. I would say one of the key, what you've got to do with this stuff, don't overbrush it. Get it on. Put plenty on your brush, put it on the surface, lay it off, and let it do its thing, because putting enough on gives you that coverage. And I'm on about coverage stroke capacity, not coverage that an egg cup full will do a full wall. I'm on about how it covers over, well, you can see, well, that's very grinny. That's just got the 1, 2, 3 on, 1, 2, 3 plus. This, really impressed with. I'm glad I've actually used this. It's not just for woodwork, and if you're in America, it's trim. If you're already using this in America, you can use it on your walls. It's high traffic area stuff. If you've got kitchens, if you've got, I don't know, passageways, shops, anything. If you've got walls that need a tough, durable finish, this is the paint for you. Your downside is, in the UK, whether it's the matte, whether it's the eggshell, whether it's the satin, you're looking at 108 quid. You might get a bit cheaper, but we're not talking 60 quid. We're talking around the 100 mark. But it's really good. Smell wise, there's not really much of a smell. I know there's that warning label on the back, but I could probably smell a bit of ammonia, which is probably what you'd expect from a water-based quality paint. Like a nappy bucket. If you go back to the 70s and 80s, if you used to use terry towel in nappies, terry towel in nappies. God, didn't we all have nappy rash? And then you used to soak your buckets overnight in ammonia and stuff, in that water solution, in the ammonia of your nappy. Oh yeah, it stung, didn't it? Right, enough about that. Really impressed. If you've not gave it a go yet, give it a go. You might like it, might be Marmite, you might go, not happy, but I'm quite liking that. Right, I'm going to blend out and I'm going to move the camera and let's just talk about that door. Did a blend, a blancmange blend. Right, if you've seen that previous video where I've been talking about painting woodwork, if you're doing a door like this and it's opening into a room, let me tell you the correct edges that you're painting. Right, you obviously be doing the face, but you'd be opening the door and you'd be painting that, let's call it the latch, lock, whatever you want to call that, the latch edge. You paint that, because that side, and it's brilliant because we've got that blue from in that front passage, that side is in that room, that you paint that. So this side is opening in, and you can see it as I've got the door, I'm opening it, that's the side you're painting in this section of the room. But when it comes to the the frame, I'll call it the jars, whatever you want to call it, I'll move you around. You've got a hinge edge there, and you've got, on the architrave of frame, you've got where your door sits, the door jambs. Do you call them door jambs? Right, let me tell you, if you were painting in this section of the room and not this section, you'd be painting across the top on that left hand side, which is, again, your latch part of the frame. Keeping that face edge clean there, because just have a damp cloth with you, because it's going to creep round. Just wipe it off with a damp cloth. Tips of the trade. Because we've got a contrast, real contrast. They've got blue in there, and we're going to have white in here. But some people are questioning me about where the hinges are. You don't paint that, because the true way of doing it is this blue would be the hinge and the door hinge side. But I've got a dilemma. We've got big contrasting colours, and I don't want to paint that hinge side in the blue that I might see it. I'm going to move my doorstop. Might see it creeping in the gap there. You're following me, aren't you? If it was white or a light colour, it won't matter. You won't notice it. But because that door doesn't sit very well, the way the joinery work is, it's not sitting very well. What I'm going to do, and this is your anomaly, this is the odd occasion that you'll paint it differently. I'm still going to paint that door edge there, keeping the face of the blue clean, but I'll bring you into the room where I've got the hinge edge on this side of the room, and I've part done it because I didn't paint it blue. I painted the door edge blue. I'm happy with that, because when I paint the other side white, if any white creeps onto that blue there, I'll just have my damp cloth and wipe it off. I'm just going to wipe it off. But this, let's call it the section of the door on the hinge, I'm still going to paint that white with the inner frame going round. You can't see, with the inner frame going round on there, I'm going to do it white, because that white in there is more likely to disguise any blue. Because if I painted it blue, I'm going to see a creep. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. So this is the only odd time that I will do it like this. I'll keep the door in the main blue, but the actual frame there with the hinges, I'm going to this time paint it with that side, that room's paint, which is the white. And that's because I don't want to see the blue of that frame, because the blue is protruding, because that frame sits a bit more forward than the door. It's not a good fit. I'm going to see blue creeping if I do that blue. Similar colours won't matter, but with dark contrasting colours like this, just wait up what's going to look best. When this door's shut, move my door stop. Look, doesn't matter, we're not going to see anything. When we part open it, I'll accept that the door edge with the hinge is blue, but unfortunately, or the way this is going to be, that hinge edge there will be painted white with the room in there. You've got me, haven't you? You've followed me on that. Give us some comments. What would you do? It's one of them things. I could do it blue with this room and wipe off that edge that might be showing, but I know when I look through that gap, I'm going to see the blue of that part of the frame, and I don't want to see that. So in this instance, I'm going to be painting that white. And the back edge just there, I'll bring you just around to that back edge. See that back edge there? I'll also be painting that white, and I will wipe off the face with that damp cloth any white that goes onto that blue. Can't do any more than that. Right, let me do this door and then I'll show you when it's done. Right, I'm just coming to paint this door, but I thought I'll just give you the heads up. That door hinge is very close to the wall. Now it gives me a fraction of an inch of a gap to paint. Now there's no way I'm going to get a brush in there to get a neat line. So I've just ran some pink, which is the delicate tester tape just down that wall edge, which is delicate tape, so I'm hoping it shouldn't do pull any paint off of the emulsion. I've just taped it up all the way down there so I can just get a neat line when I start coming with that satin down that frame. What I'll do, I won't overload the brush, I'll just scrub it across that tape edge so it's not going to creep too much, because I don't want to push it down too much and get paint bleed. So I've done that, and I've also just put some tape on the inner part of that hinge, so when I put the brush down it, it's not going to catch too much. I've got quite a bit of cleaning up of hinges from previously when it was painted with the original contractors. You can still see the white paint on them. I'll just go around with some cellulose thinners, bit of a scraper, just try and get them cleaned up the best I can when I've finished the whole job and the project. But other than that, we're straightforward on this. I'll show you painting it and we'll fast forward through that. But on the whole, I'm good to go on this. I have got my cloth, and you know, I've short of water in here. I've bought a 5 litre canister of water with me, so I can just put some water on the cloth. But yeah, I'll paint this door first, then open it. That hinge, so I'll open it back. I've got, these are brilliant. This is tips and tricks of the trade. Top tip Tuesday, if you're watching it on a Tuesday. You know, the end of your cork guns that you're probably not using or you finish with them. Keep them by you, because they're good for wedging underneath doors to hold them back or keep them away from closing. You just put that into the door jar and it stops the door closing all the way too. So yeah, a couple of minutes of waffling to you. I'm going to paint this door. You'll see me. I'll fast forward through it, or you'll just see a little bit, and then we'll talk about these hinge edges and latch edges that we're painting and just wiping it off with a cloth. So, all good. People keep asking me, I'm still using the classic Arrowworthies. This is just 1.5 inches flat brush, not a slash cut. I've been fine cutting in any top edge of the skirting, and lovely soft bristle. I really like the soft bristle of this. So let's crack on. We're just about to paint that edge there, and I've just trapped it with, well, the end of a cork gun. Just going to paint them edges. I'm going to come off camera and then we'll show you what it's like when it's done. Do you know what? Sometimes I talk a load of twaddle, or it's not so much twaddle, it might be just conquer and overcome. You know where I said about wiping off that edge from the blue? Well, that didn't work out well, did it? The paint dried that quick on this. This is a satin eggshell, this darker blue satin eggshell, but it's quite a dry, gritty, yeah, dry gritty texture. The white paint went on it, and you know what, I could hardly shift it. I could wipe it and scrub it till the cows come home, it wasn't going to come off. So what I'll end up doing is, it's only that edge there across the top and down the side. There's a little bit on the hinge door edge. I'll just get a nice soft Arrowworthy brush and just touch it. I'll say it in a minute. I'll just touch it in when I've got 2 coats, the second coat on all this white, and just neaten it all up. So normally you could probably wipe it, I'll say probably, possibly, wipe it with a damp cloth and you'd get a clean edge neat to that blue. But I think it's more of a case of this paint, which is in a playlist that you've seen, probably already there. It's not going to move, so I don't want to scrub and wipe off that blue. I'll just touch it in. It might take a couple of coats. It's quite dark, it'll probably go for one. So that's where I am with it. There's a little bit of touching up on that hinge edge there, on the blue, and just around that frame. Not a big deal. Nothing that I can't sort out. So you'll say goodbye to me now. I'll blend out to blend back in to a conclusion of what all that white's like when I've got 2 coats on. So I'm going to get my dinner now. I'm going to do some moving of tiles. That'll all be drying there till I've had 3 to 4 hours since I did the first door, and we'll crack on. I'll see you in a bit. Bye. Right, let's do a whistle stop tour of trying to sum up this paint. I've got to admit, I'd forgotten how good it was. I said that last time. It goes on lovely. It's thin enough you don't need to think about thinning it. So if you're a DIYer, if you are somebody that struggles with brushwork, you know, struggles applying paint by brush, this goes on a dream. I've not needed to warm it, just room temperature's been fine. 2 coats, I've probably got back to the second coat 3.5, 4 hours in, which I think we're probably on the verge of just about right. Next day would probably be even better, but it went on a dream. I used the Pro Deck microfiber rollers. I'm a bit like that. I'm a bit like that with them. Are they as good? Are they the same? Are they as good as Two Fussy Blokes? Once it bedded in, it was all right. It was all right. It went on all right. I'm not jumping up and down and singing from the rooftops about it. It did what I needed to do. Next time round, I'll probably try Two Fussy Blokes on this room that I'm in here, in the living room stroke kitchen. That's, well, you see there, no kitchen. I'll try Two Fussy Blokes next time, a 5mm, so it can compare against what I've used there. But application wise, really chuffed. It went on lovely. I just nibbed down between that second coat, and the feel, I'd say the feel to the finish is as near as what I've had on that paint, the CIN. That CIN paint in Portugal, brilliant. This, is it as good? I like my CIN. It's as good, let's say it's as good. The feel to it, the satin finish is beautiful. It feels hard, it does what it says on the tin. It's scuff resistant, that's why you can use it on walls. That's why you can either use a matte finish or an eggshell finish if you're doing high traffic areas, in schools, in restaurants, in shops, in anywhere, offices. You can use this on the walls. It's expensive, but you can use it on the walls. Woodwork should be no problem, should it? Shouldn't be any problem at all. And I have to say, I think it's covered for 2 over that 1, 2, 3 Zinza. If I look with a professional eye, and I'm really looking, sometimes you can see, where you can see previous brush marks or where your brush marks are drying out, it can be a bit deceptive and give you a bit of a false sense that there's shadow in there and it looks like it's not covered. But this door that's been done a couple of hours now, it's dry. I think I might be nitpicking to say that it's not covered. I'm quite happy with that. I'd let it go at that. I'm not questioning whether it needs a 3rd coat. Whereas when I use the WRX paint, which is a lovely paint, and we know whites are a bit not brilliant for coverage, the WRX paint, I did know it needed a 3rd coat, even though it had that 1, 2, 3. But that has been really good. I'm going to say, give this a go if you've never tried it, because you might like it. Try and get some and use it. And I've said times many, people say, oh, it's expensive and materials, customers won't pay for it. Do your prices on your jobs, quote for it with your materials and labour combined. Nobody will know what your split of paint is to labour or anything like that. Nobody wants to know the breakdown. They shouldn't be asking you for a breakdown between materials and labour and seeing what paint you're using and what price you're paying on your paint, because it's a quote. We can do another video on that in the future, but try it. You can put it on your price of your job if you think it warrants it for using a decent paint. If you're doing a flat rental out, it's probably a bit overkill. But this paint, I have to say, I'm impressed with it and I do like it. It's only taken 2 coats. I know I was going over a 1, 2, 3 and it magnolia stroke gardenia, but I think if you were going over previously painted white woodwork, you'd have no problem with that, and it'd go for 2 because it'd grip as well. The coverage is nice, and when I mean coverage, I mean opacity. So give that a go, see what you think. I want some comments. If you're liking this content, you're going to be pressing the like button and pressing that bell. Is there a bell just there to press? Well, I'll press the bell thing there, but you press it, you know. All right, I'm going to say goodbye. I'll see you on the next one, and over and out. It's nice paint. Pleased with it. Thanks, Brewers, for being open on a Saturday morning.